Every now and again, we like to check in with the people in the driver's seat of American companies. This morning, Kris Van Cleave takes us to the cradle of the nation's auto industry to catch up with Jim Farley, CEO of Ford.
At Ford's Michigan assembly outside Detroit, more than 4,500 hourly employees turn out about 100,000 Broncos a year. A new one every 60 seconds.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford.
For obvious reasons, Ford's been touting its commitment to American manufacturing. More than 80% of its vehicles sold in the U.S. are indeed made in America. That's the highest share of any Detroit automaker.
This is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry.
But Ford imports many parts and has been hit hard by President Trump's tariffs.
Why can't you just make all the parts here?
That's a great question, because it's not affordable.
Jim Farley is Ford's CEO. He says if Ford only used American-made parts, American-made cars would be too expensive for many Americans to buy.
An F-150, you go from $700 a month to $900 a month.
And some components, Farley says, no one even makes in America.
There are parts, fasteners, wiring looms from other countries, and we pay our tariffs, sometimes up to 70% on those parts.
Who ends up paying that?
Well, the company right now. And in the end of the day, it's all these workers.
Farley has deep roots in Michigan. His grandfather was Ford Motor Company's 389th employee, one of the first to help build the Model T. But Farley himself is not a Ford lifer. Before joining the company in 2007, he spent nearly 2 decades at Toyota.
How did it go over in the Farley family when you went to Toyota?
Not well. Because at the time, you know, there were just all through the 70s, there was just job loss after job loss across Southeast Michigan.
Because of slumping car sales, unemployment in the auto industry now stands at more than 18%. But the problem is much larger.
Latest figures show domestic auto sales still in a skid, but Japanese cars keep rolling ahead.
And my grandfather was thinking about all the people that lost their jobs. They were like, why? Why are you doing this?
I wonder, do you see similarities between, the 80s when the U.S. auto industry was facing the increased competition from Japan to today where it's China?
Oh, I think it's exactly the same thing, but it's on steroids.
Ironically, it's a Biden-era tariff that has so far spared Detroit from that competition.
I'm determined that the future of electric vehicles will be made in America.
In May of last year, the U.S. imposed a 100% surcharge on Chinese-made electric vehicles, which effectively bans them from the American road. But Chinese EVs are gaining ground in Europe, Latin America, and especially China, the world's largest market. Farley has called these small, inexpensive, tech-savvy cars an existential threat.
They have enough capacity in China with the existing factories to serve the entire North America market, put us all out of business. Japan never had that. So this is a completely different level of risk for our industry.
Are the Chinese cars being made today something Americans would want to buy?
Yes. I drive in a Xiaomi SU7, high quality, great digital experience.
So you're driving a Chinese?
I do.
Why?
Because of the competition. And to beat them, you have to know them.
Farley's firsthand experience with Chinese EVs is a big reason Ford is pivoting to smaller, more affordable electric vehicles.
It represents the most radical change on how we design and how we build vehicles at Ford since the Model T.
That hands-on approach is one holdover from his days at Toyota.
So this is what we've been doing for like 3.5 solid days.
Another is his annual road trip to see products in action. We joined him on an off-road excursion through southern Utah as the company ponders the next generation of the Bronco.
Throughout your career, you've had this idea of going and seeing things.
So I believe Genji Genbutsu is a Japanese word that means go and see where the work is actually done. I took a Lightning through California with my son, and it became pretty clear that we had a big problem with our charging network. So after that trip, I called Elon out of the blue, never met him or anything. I was like, is there any way you would share your supercharger network with Ford?
The road trips do have almost a little bit of a Tommy Boy feel to them.
Okay, yeah.
If you heard his name and noticed the resemblance, you weren't wrong. The late actor Kris Farley was Jim Farley's cousin.
I think there's a little bit of kid in all of us Farleys, a little bit of that kind of devilish little snarky tomfoolery.
I see it as P here, R, D. What is other P? Actually, I have no idea what that is.
Only one way to find out.
On the other hand, I would say I was, kind of on the pretty serious side of the Farley spectrum. AI can watch.
Jim Farley will need every bit of that serious side to steer Ford through one of its biggest economic and political tests in decades, building a future that keeps tens of thousands of American auto workers on the line.
What I care about is that transformation of Ford. I'd like to be able to come back here in 20 years if I'm still alive and see all the people that they're still busy, like my grandfather. My grandfather had nothing until he had the Ford job. Our jobs as leaders are about them.